Guys, I'm so excited. One of the most excited times of this was going to be hearing Ari. And so, Ari, thanks for making the trip. Give it to him.
Thank you. I think a better introduction would have been, I'm a simple Jew, chicken farmer in Judea. I was a goat farmer, but my last goat didn't work out recently. And indeed, this event must be an event of tremendous spiritual importance because I've personally never faced so many obstacles that are keeping me from being here to the point where I'm shocked that I'm able to speak right now. All of a sudden, my prayers back said, please God, give me a voice that I can speak, because I was ready to say, you know, I've come here from Judea with a message, and I don't care if I have to hold this to my vocal cords and speak to you like a robot. I've come from Judea with a message for you, and I'm grateful, thank you, Hashem, that I can speak right now. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And so, indeed, I am from Judea. I'm a settler, as we said before. I'm a settler in Judea. I mean, what would the CNN call me? They would say I'm a settler in the West Bank. Why do they say that? Because it's much easier to say get the settlers out of the West Bank than get the Jews out of Judea. The reason Jews are called Jews is because we're from Judea. There's no people that is more indigenous to a land than the Jews are to Judea. And so I live on the southeastern tip of Jewish settlement in Judea, and I could try to describe it to you in words, but it would be like showing you a sheet of musical notes versus going to a Philharmonic orchestra. It would be impossible. I just want to invite you all to come and experience it yourself. I mean, we have thousands of trees, we have vineyards, we have a beautiful house of prayer, an ecological pool, we have sheep, we have a red heifer. It's actually brown, but it identifies as red. I was really hoping that would land. And if I had to be anywhere other than my home in Judea, it would really be here with you in Nashville right now. That's the truth. Because this room is filled with so many people who I know and love so dearly to my heart. And the truth is, all of you, we don't know each other, but I can tell you my heart is filled with love for all of you already. And we don't even know each other yet. And I'm so excited for the next 3 days for us to be able to meet each other and learn how much we already love each other without even knowing why, really. And so, you know, I just have to tell you, I arrived into Nashville, and I went to the hotel, and my adapter on my computer wasn't working, and my good friend Lori said, I went downstairs to ask the front desk, do you have an adapter? And they didn't, and I was wearing my pajamas with my, you know, just like an undershirt with shorts, with my seat and my kippah, and Lori comes and says, I'll take you to Walmart. I'll just go to Walmart. So jumped in the car in my pajamas, go to Walmart, and first of all, I got to tell you, there are cities in Israel that are smaller than the frozen food section of Walmart. And so I go to the electronics section, and there was an employee talking to a customer, and I just went up and I said, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you know, I'm just looking for an adapter, and they turned to look at me, and the customer, this woman, her eyes filled with tears, and she said, oh, you're a Jew. And I said, yeah, I thought she recognized me. No, she didn't recognize me. Just, you're a Jew. Oh my God, I love Jews. I love Israel. I was just there. So she said something about a menorah and her husband in a group. I didn't even follow. It was just so much. Her eyes were filled with tears. And then the Walmart, employee said, and I certainly am feeling so blessed. And I was just like, you know, it was just good. It was just a good way to start in Nashville, because it was just a reminder that the Biden administration is not a representation of all of the people of America. And so it was not an easy decision for me to come here. I've never once left my family. I've never left the land, leaving my family behind on our mountaintop in Judea, not once. I've been invited hundreds of times. I've never once left them behind, and it was a very, very difficult decision. But, you know, I just felt like there was something about this event that felt historic, that felt consequential, that felt redemptive, that there's something, maybe it's a small piece of the unfolding redemption, but I felt like I needed to be there. And I went to my wife, Shayna, and I said, you know, I shared how I feel, and if she said, listen, I'm too scared for you to leave me behind on this mountaintop in Judea. You have to see where we live. It's like really, If she said, I can't do it, I'm too scared, it's too much, I wouldn't have come. But she said, no, I'm with you, I agree with you, you need to be there. You need to go. And so that's what we did. We got a ticket and ready to roll, and then all of a sudden, a week ago yesterday, I get a call from my friend Joshua Waller, and he says, Ari, I got some news for you. Venue canceled. They got some threats from Hamas or whatever, some death threats, and they canceled the venue. And I got to be honest, between the 600 of us or whatever, it's one thing if I can imagine them canceling the venue if we're talking about a bunch of yellow-bellied liberals in Oregon, but actually to here in Nashville, to cancel the event, I just felt like that's not how I imagine the people of Nashville. And I was just shocked at such an event like that. But he says, listen, we're not going to let this get us down. I knew he would say this. I know the Wallers. We're going to make it bigger and better, and we're going to use this as a platform, and we're going to make it, and you have to have faith, and we're going to, there's no event. Right now, there is no event, but it's going to happen. And I said, okay, but as far as I knew, the event was off. And then a few hours later, I got a call from my travel agent, and he said, your ticket is canceled. Not just my ticket, all tickets on United Airlines. United Airlines decided no more flying to Israel. No more flying. No, United Airlines canceled all flights to and from Israel. And I don't think that they're anti-Israel. It was probably the same decision making as the other event hall. Just too much for them. They just don't want to mess with that. So what if they're throwing Israel under the bus? So that was it. And so in my mind, I said to myself, maybe God really is sending me a message. He doesn't want me to leave my family on this mountaintop in Judea. He doesn't want me to go to America. It's not in his plan, and that's fine. And I was coming to terms with that and coming to peace with that, surrendering. And then I got a call the next day from Josh. And he says, Ari, you're not going to believe it. We got a new place, a new venue. It's 10 times better, 1,000 times better. It was Dave Ramsey comes in. Dave Ramsey? I did the Total Money Makeover. I did. There's a lot of, he's like in Judea, there's a lot of Jews that are financially solvent because of Dave Ramsey. Do you know how many sheep I am in debt, how many sheep I owe Nati Ram? 0. Because I don't go into debt. That was Dave Ramsey. And so I said, he said, we're going to do this event. You got to come. And he said, I know about your nervousness and your issues about going, and I get it. Believe me, I get it. He was just telling me, he's like, I don't know if I could have left my family in Judea. He just said that to me now. I'm like, thanks, Josh. You're saying that now. He says, I get it, but I'll just tell you, we really need you. We need you. And Joshua Waller is going to tell me that he needs me. I don't exactly have free will in the matter at this point. Right? I mean, though you have to understand the Waller family, 20 plus years, I don't know how long we've known each other, but we're not even friends anymore. We're family. We're family. And every time we've ever needed a thing, we don't even need to ask them. We're so tuned in that they just sense it. And they still, whether it's pruning or harvesting or things that I was told I'm not even allowed to tell you that they have done, but it's just, if you can imagine what they have done for us, putting their necks on the line physically. I mean, it's beyond, and they've been there all the time, so they tell me that they need me, and you know what? It wasn't just because they said they need me. I sensed in his words and in the truth of this event that now is not the time for canceling and walking away. Now is not the time for quitting. Now is not the time for fear. Now is not the time for doubt. Now is the time for courage. And now is the time for faith. And now is the time to answer the calling of the generation, to look up at the creator of heaven and earth and say, Hineni. Say Hineni. Here I am. Who was the first person, tell me, who was the first person in the Bible to say Hineni? Well, okay, that's true. Abraham. Vayehi achar advarim ha'ela, Ve'Elohim nisa et Avraham v'yomer elav Avraham v'yomer hineni. Sometimes afterwards, God put Abraham to the test. He said to him, Abraham, and he answered, here I am. And he said, take your son, your favored one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the heights that I will point out to you. Hineni is what Abraham says to God when he is tested. He's being tested. God is testing him to see if he will voluntarily give that which is the most precious to him, that he loves the most, as a love offering to God, as a voluntary offering to God. Not only his son, Isaac, but what was Abraham's message to the world at a time of child sacrifice? Everyone is sacrificing their children. And Abraham says, no, God is not a vicious, bloodthirsty God of child sacrifice. Child sacrifice is evil, and now he has to sacrifice his own son. He's sacrificing his message. He's willing to sacrifice everything. He's being tested, and he says, Hineni. And, we know that tests are a blessing. Tests are an opportunity. They're a gift to us from God. Because God knew Abraham's heart. He knew that Abraham had a faithful, lev ne'eman, a faithful heart to God, a loving heart to God. He knew that. But who didn't know that? Abraham. Abraham didn't know it. By testing Abraham, it gave Abraham the opportunity to actualize what was this potential within him, and he self-actualized, and he became the Abraham that changed all of world history. When we're tested, it gives us an opportunity to actually become and manifest that which is deep within us. And we're in a time of tremendous testing. Every day, there is a line being drawn deeper in the sand. All of us are being tested. We're being tested in different ways. Because these are also times of darkness and pain and grief and confusion. October 7th, the nation of Israel suffered a genocide unlike anything since the Holocaust, and possibly in some ways even worse. And the pain that the Jewish people went through on October 7th, to this day, I still cry. For 3 weeks after October 7th, the month, when I didn't have to be strong for my family or my community, I would sneak away and I would just weep. And I'm sure so many of you did also. To the day I die, there will be a part of me that will be perpetually broken and shattered because of what happened on October 7th. But we have to remember one fundamental truth that in times of pain it's so hard to remember, and that is that there is nothing that is a coincidence. Nothing is happenstance. Nothing is random or arbitrary. Everything is from the God of Israel. Everything. He's the all-powerful God, and he's a good God. And so we need to remember something that's so difficult to say. I'm nervous to even say it now, but it's just the truth. That the pain we're going through now, the October 7th, did not happen to us. It happened for us. It happened for us. I can just, each person in their own way has to see this, but I can just tell you as a Jew in the land of Israel, I can already see light that is coming out of this unimaginable darkness. Because on that one fateful day on October 7th, our idols and our illusions were shattered. Our idols were broken over our own heads at that one very moment. I mean, just two examples. One example, our faith in our technology, our radars and our drones and our motion detectors and our fences and all of this technology was just so, we had so much faith in it that there was actually IDF top brass that went down to some of the communities that were massacred in Gaza, and they actually confiscated the weapons of the security teams because our technology is so great. We don't need those weapons. Take them away. You don't need them, these antiquated, backwards weapons. And look what happened in one moment. That whole illusion, gone. Our faith in America, that's the truth. Israel had so much faith in our allies that America would always be there for us, that America was our friend through thick and thin, that when it really came down to it, no matter what, they would always be there. We had so much faith in America that we allowed ourselves to become dependent on their munitions and their weapons. We crippled our own weapons industry by taking these vouchers that America was offering. It was the degree of psychological subjugation that we allowed ourselves to get into with believing in America and putting our faith and our hope in America. And then a new Pharaoh arose in Egypt that did not know Joseph. And then all of a sudden, it seems like the U.S. administration, at least, is doing everything it can to ensure that Hamas survives and therefore that Israel loses this war. And you know what? The truth is, I don't blame America. Israel needs to start taking true responsibility for what we have to own that. We allowed ourselves to get into such a toxic, codependent relationship by tolerating and allowing and creating this dependence. When there's two parties in a relationship and one feels like they need the other, it brings out the worst in everybody. And we allowed ourselves, and we need to own that. We need to own that. And in that one day of October 7th, it has started the nation of Israel to a realization that all of these idols and the illusions, if you go to Israel right now, you may look at Israel from the outside and say, wow, things are really looking bad right now. It's really looking like bad news in Israel. But the sages of Israel say that the chicken grows as the egg decays. When you look at the shell from the outside, it looks like it's decaying, but really, a new life is being born within that egg. When you look at Israel from the outside, you may see feckless leadership falling into the same conceptia, the same ideas that got us in to October 7th, and you say, what is with that country, that leadership? But go to the land. Go to the front lines of any unit in the Israeli army. Meet these soldiers, and you will see lions of Judah with a righteous indignation, ready to pounce, that are shackled and ready to pounce. The nation of Israel is shattering our idols and our illusions, and we're coming to the one conclusion, that we have no one ever to hope in. We can put our hope and our faith nowhere other than in the God of Israel. And that is a great liberation. But it's not only Israel that is going through times of refinement. The nations of the world are going through times of refinement as well. October 7th happened, and most Jews, maybe every Jew deep down, really thought that the nations of the world would come to our defense, would stand with us. Never before has there been such a stark contrast between pure, absolute, genocidal evil and goodness, between darkness and light. Never before. I see there's kids here, so I'm not going to go into the details, but you know just some of the stories. And I'm sure that none of us know the degree and the depth and the glee and elation. The more grotesque and evil the murder was, the more glee and elation that this death cult had. And so Israel thought, of course, the world is going to stand with us. But in the days that followed October 7th, every Jew that you meet will tell you that they've never felt more turned on by the world, more isolated, more alone. In the streets of Australia, they were in the streets saying, "Gas the Jews." The masks were coming off. Not the Zionists and not the settlers. Gas the Jews. In the capitals of the world, in New York and Paris and Amsterdam, marching through the street, huge processions saying, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." Literally calling for the genocide of Jews, blaming Israel for the very genocide that was committed against us and that we're being called upon. They're calling for our genocide and then blaming us for the very thing. And so, why? Why are all the nations, why did this happen that the nations are turning against us at such a pivotal time when they should be for us? And there's a lot of dimensions to it. I won't go into all of them, but I'll just say one thing. Sometimes we think we actually grew up. And the playground was left for grade school. But I think on some level, we're always in the playground. There's a part of us on the most visceral level that's always there. And so what happens in this playground? A psychotic, vicious, violent, merciless bully runs out onto the court and just sucker punches the sweetest, kindest guy on the court, and then once he falls, just bludgeons him into a bloody pulp. And all the kids are around watching this happen in terror. And which of these kids do you think is actually going to side with the kid on the ground? No, of course not. Their hope is that by siding with the bully, that somehow they will evade the fate of this kid on the ground. That they're on the side of the bully. That's what it is. They're terrified. I mean, there's 23 Arab states, 57 Muslim states. The number one name in the world last year was Mohammed. There's 150 million Mohammeds. And the polls show that the majority of them support October 7th and want to have it happen again and again and again and again. So, of course, who are you going to side with? The only reason that someone would side with Israel and the Jewish people today, the only reason is because they fear God more than they fear man. And I think ultimately that's why I felt so compelled to come to this conference, because I really believe in my heart of hearts that everybody in this room is the righteous remnant of the nations that the prophets of Israel spoke of when they said at the end of days Israel will stand alone, but there will be a righteous remnant from the nations. The prophet Zechariah said, "V'nilvu goyim rabim el Hashem b'yomahu v'hayu li la'am," and there will be the righteous of the nations will attach themselves to the house of Israel on that day, and they will be for me a nation. Now, what does it mean to attach yourself to the house of Israel? When you attach yourself to the house of Israel, it means you're casting your lot with the lot of the Jewish people. You're tying your fate in with the fate of the Jewish people. A German who hit a Jew in their basement in World War II, if they were caught, what would happen to them? They would be right there in the gas chambers of Auschwitz, right next to that Jew. That's what it is to attach yourself to the house of Israel. And then what does the prophet go on to say? V'hayu li la'am. And this righteous remnant that attaches themselves to the house of Israel will be for me like a nation, like a people. There's an attachment that's going on. When you stand with Israel, particularly during these times, there's a familial connection that is being forged. I don't know another way to understand that verse and to understand the intuitive feeling that I get when I meet those that are walking the streets with an Israeli flag on their shirt and going to Jews and saying, "I'm standing with you, and I've got your back, and I will suffer with you." That's what it is. You know, my commander in the Army, my best friend, Jeremy, my partner of 20 years, my business partner. Nowadays, you got to be clear about these things, I understand. So he got very badly injured. It was a horrible accident last week, and so he wasn't able to be here. And we're praying for his recovery, his full refuah shlema. He should have a complete recovery. But I asked him, I said, "Jeremy, what message do you want me to share from you? What did you want to say?" And he said, "I think I would want to tell them to prepare to stand alone. Prepare yourselves to stand alone. If you're going to really, truly stand with Israel, then you need to be willing to stand alone." The prophets tell us in the Bible itself, "Am levadat tishkon." You will be a nation that dwells alone. You will not be reckoned among the other peoples. It's part of the spiritual DNA of the Jewish people. That's what it is to be a Hebrew. If you're really a follower of Abraham, Abraham was an Ivri, a Hebrew. Hebrew, the word Ivri comes from the word ever, which means the other side. That the whole world was worshiping stones and rocks and idols, and Abraham stood on the other side. And he said, "No, there's the one God in the world." And so he was a Hebrew because he stood on the other side. Be prepared to stand alone. And I'm running out of time here, so I want to please, with your permission, I want to give you a few blessings. I want to bless you with the strength that you are able to stand with Israel even when the price is very high. I want to bless you with the character to stand with Israel, even if it means that you will be isolated and marginalized and in tremendous danger. But you have the character to stand alone with the nation of Israel, because I know it can be a very terrifying prospect. But the price that you'll pay is so small compared to the gift of actually standing with Israel and the Jewish people and being a vessel and a vehicle of God's light in the world. Because that's what you are right now just by being here. Just by virtue of the fact you're here right now, you don't even need to say anything. Because you know the dangers that there were. All of you know the dangers in coming here. It was definitely more dangerous to be here than not to be here with all of the threats. And you decided, no, I'm going to come. And I want you to know that it's a source of comfort for Israel. It's a source of comfort for the Jewish people. You strengthen us and you bless us. And so I would like to bless you with the blessing that Aaron the high priest gives to the nation of Israel. Now, my name is Ari Yehuda. It means Lion of Judah, son of Abraham. I'm not a descendant of Aaron. I think I'm from the tribe of Judah, but how could I not? But the Torah does tell us, the Bible tells us that we are a nation. Am Kohanim v'Goy Kadosh. We're a nation of priests and a holy nation. So what the priests are to the tribes of Israel, all of Israel is to the nations of the world. And after thousands of years, we can finally rise to the occasion and assume our proper mission, which is to bless the entire world. It's sometimes difficult nowadays to really, really bless the entire world, but you know what's not difficult? Blessing you. Blessing you is so easy because it's just returning the blessing that you're sending our way. So with your permission, I want to bless you with the blessing of Aaron the high priest. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yechuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless and protect you. May He shine His light and His countenance upon you. May He give you peace. Amen. Thank you.